It's race time once again. And tonight we're at Monza. What can go wrong? Hello to the lads in the chat. I know Josh Copeland is currently watching, sat on the tarmac. Not sure what airport, but he's about to take off if his plane departs on time. So hello in the chat, let me know if the audio is working. Again, we've got quite high car volumes tonight, mainly because we like the sound. So yeah, Monza tonight, a very, very popular circuit, a classic on nearly every motorsport calendar, as we just watched somebody loop it on the warm-up lap. All of the guys on their out lap trying to get some heat in the tyres so they can push to be on pole for this race, which is very tricky into the first corner. It's almost a meme now. Turn 1 at Monza, possibly the most dangerous place to be, in amongst it with maybe Iran and other places at the moment. So 22 cars in the server tonight. Harrison Fulton's gone yellow, so looks like he's binned it on the outlap. He has at the Parabolica, so no worse place to do that. Just about to start his flying lap, and he's looped it and probably cooked the tyres, but he will carry on and do another warm-up lap, or probably a cool-down lap. Sam Wooldridge also off as well, so a lot of the guys struggling to get the heat in these tyres to even start pushing. But in practice, very, very close on the timetable. The top 11 covered by 1.1 seconds, so pretty much 1/10 per position. As we're watching, that was Mike Sutty as well. He's been off the circuit, so lots of mistakes early on here. Guys pushing to get on it. They know that these tyre temperatures are crucial, and with only 11.5 minutes to go, every lap counts at this point. So we are in for a very close session, I think, today. Franco Sestari coming round to finish his first flying lap, but I doubt this will be representative of the final times. We'll be looking at, well, targeting a 1:49, so a mid to high 1:49. We'll see what he goes over the line on this first lap, so 52.9. So we can see it's actually Matt Zenko that's done that, but we can see that they're a good few seconds off their ultimate pace at the moment. Matt Zenko just behind Franco Sestari. Just saw the rear of that Ferrari stepping out midway in the first chicane. So looking at Matt Zenko here, Ben Peake goes onto pole in the Porsche. Listen to those. Very nice indeed. Yeah, good numbers tonight, Josh. 22 cars, and therefore drivers. You'll see the leaderboard has changed slightly this week, so when the cars cross the line, the yellow lap time is their last lap time. So as they cross the line, that'll turn into the yellow gold colour, and that is their lap time, and that will fade away after around 10 seconds. And you can see the fastest lap banner at the top there. Kyle Wright, provisional pole for now, 1:51.4, but that will be beaten, I'm sure. Kyle Wright had a dominant weekend last weekend, a dominant race. Started on second position took first position into the first corner and led every lap after that moment. But will he be challenged this evening? Because Matt Zenko in practice did actually beat Carl Wright on pure pace by a fraction of a tenth. So I think he might be under a little bit more pressure tonight, and he won't have it all his own way. Franco Sestari puts it on pole as these lap times tumble a 150.9, so we're still looking for another second off that time. Got a newcomer today in Guy Thornton. He's chosen the BMW. I think he's quite new to the sim racing world. I do know Guy personally, and I think he's running a pretty standard setup on this car, so he's struggling at the moment to get on terms with the quick guys, but currently lapping pretty reasonably, certainly while the tyres are a little bit cool. So we'll be keeping an eye on Guy tonight and seeing how he advances as the night goes on. You can see the lap times in the bottom right hand corner. So green is personal fastest sector, purple is session best sector, so that's the best sector out of any of the cars, and then yellow is neither of those. A little bit twitchy in Parabolica there for Franco Sestari. He's right on the limit, so we should start to see some of these more representative times across the line. What is it this time? Over a 150.4, but then immediately taken by Matt Zenko on a 150.2, so he's following again in that black and yellow Ferrari, so he takes pole for now. Let's have a look where Kyle Wright is, currently up in sector 1. I said Guy was struggling, but it is quite early. I'm just going off what practice times we're saying, so let's see if he's found some pace, and I'm sure he'll be near the top by the end. Very quick driver and a very skilled individual, if I don't say so myself. Harrison Fulton off into the garage, so he's going to struggle again. Well, he should get enough time actually, and as I say that, Guy Thornton's off the track back to pits, so I think he's just returned to pits for another go at this on fresh tyres. Yeah, I know personally Guy from Carl Wright puts it on pole, sorry. So he goes across the line in a 50.049. Guy Thornton used to race model cars and was very quick in his day. One of the top drivers in the country. If anyone watching has any interest in on-road 10th scale touring cars, he was very handy at that. Could almost do it in his sleep. So Ben Peake then in the Porsche is really taking this to the quick guys. You can see the leaderboard. All of those plus numbers are the times off the current pole position. So Troy Fry crosses the line in 150.8, and that will put him 0.8 down off pole position, but a good strong showing so far for Troy. Lots of the guys right up there at the moment. Excellent strength of field. Only 1.4 down to 13th, so, well, as I say that, 1.3, so again, the top 13 positions covered by a tenth every position, and in some cases much closer than that. So I'm sure we're going to have some really good racing come the race proper. Franco Sestari puts in the fastest sector 1, so let's stick on with Franco as he takes 2 big stabs at the throttle there. You heard the Lexus just farting its way around the first Lesmo. Much smoother through the second. He's got Matt Zenko in front of him to try and pull him along. We know that Matt Zenko is quick, currently sits second. And Franco Sestari in 5th position. What's he like in Sector 2? As he goes through Ascari, looks like he's nailed the exit of that, and it's down this final straight, and we'll get the Sector 2 time now as somebody else has gone faster in Sector 1, which is Mike Sutty. Mike Sutty, fastest of anyone in Sector 1. Not sure why we've not got a Sector 2 time for Franco Sestari yet, because he's very much through Sector 2. So maybe a bit of a glitch there with the sector times. Matt Zenko 50 flat. Look how close that is. Sector 2 is the quickest for Franco Sestari. It was a track cut, so that lap didn't count for Franco Sestari. But look at the leaderboard. Look how close it is for 1st and 2nd position. Only 0.003 of a second. Matt Zenko goes to the pit, so that will be his qualifying over, I think. He'll struggle to get out and get those tyres up to temperatures in that time. So let's have a look at Ben Peake. Personal best in the 1st sector, but I think he's going to need to go purple or very consistent on the green sectors if he wants to knock those two off the top 2 steps or the top 2 positions on the grid. Franco Sestari again puts in the fastest 1st sector, so can he keep it on the circuit this time? Usually if they do have a track cut, you will see the lap time disappear and say invalid lap or something along those lines. Certainly low on fuel, so he's pushing. He's lost a bit of time in the middle sector, but it's still going to be good enough if he can keep it on the track. He does just. He should still be able to put in a good time here. So Kyle Wright on pole, marginally ahead. He's down on this lap, you can see on those times, ahead of Matt Zenko, who's in the pits, and then Ben Peake in 3rd position. Let's have a look at Franco Sestari coming across the line. Albert Serragili goes up to 4th position. So Albert Serragili on a 50.3, very quick. Franco Sestari takes 3rd position right back, and that was a fastest final sector, I think. No, fastest 1st and 2nd sector for Franco Sestari, it's saying on my timing screen. I'm not sure if that's fully accurate, but that was a good lap for Franco Sestari. Only 6 hundredths down on Matt Zenko, or 6 hundredths down on pole position, I should say. So really close. The top 6 cars only covered by 2.5 tenths, so that's as close as you like. Sestari puts in another fastest 1st sector. Colours not showing that on the overlay, but on my live timing screens that does appear to be the fastest 1st sector. As again he's hard on the throttle midway through the 1st Lesmo. Rob Thompson, he's off and back to the pits. Barry Mnemonic is back to the pits, currently sitting in 6th, so that's a good showing from him. Carl Wright on a reasonable lap here, very close to track limits. And Ben Peake goes across the line to take pole position with only 25 seconds to go. He's literally just pipped Kyle Wright. What can Kyle Wright do? He's coming into the parabolic, and now he'll have seen that time pop up and had to throw everything at this lap. As we wait for him to cross the line, can he reclaim pole position? No, he cannot. A 10th down on that lap. So Ben Peake and Franco Sestari takes P2. We saw he was on a good 1st sector and truly reflected now in the purple in Sector 1. Average 2nd and 3rd sectors, but he takes 2nd position from Kyle. This is extremely close. The top 4 covered by 0.03 of a second. As the timer goes down to 0, I don't think there's anyone else. Albert Serragili possibly still on a lap, and he's on a decent lap. So can he make it even closer? He currently sits in 5th position, just outside that extremely tight top 4. Really close. I'm looking down the leaderboard. The top 16 cars within a second. This is about as close as I've ever seen it, certainly in this community. The top 16 cars within a second. I know it's Monza, and I know everybody knows Monza, but that is very, very close. Matt Zenko in the chat, he'll be disappointed to only sit 4th after basically equaling the best lap of the evening. Oh, and that could be Albert Seragili wide. It could be a track cut. He had a good second sector, middle sector. So will this lap count? We'll find out as he enters Parabolica. He's pretty much the only guy that's going to do anything about these top steps. Sits 5th. What can Albert Seragili do then? Will this lap count? Is continued, so I'm hoping it is. As he crosses the line then. And he takes pole position, a 149.8. So relatively huge margin compared to the rest of the guys. 1.5 tenths. So a tenth and a half. He takes pole. Great last lap there by Albert. And extremely close for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th position. A few more improvements there. That's spread out the table. That last time has just knocked the times down a little bit. So the top 13 covered by under a second. Still very, very close. And that was really high pressure stuff for all of those guys. And Albert pulls it out of the bag.
Go to the grid for a race start.
In overtime. So he'll be over the moon with that. But now the pressure is on. So that grid was incorrect. I'm not sure why it's showing. Did I miss something? No, Albert Seragili is on pole position. He's just not showing up at the moment because he's not on the track. So the order is Albert Seragili, Ben Peake, Franco Sestari, Kyle Wright in 4th, Matty Zenko in 5th, Barry Mnemonic in 6th, Andy Moore, Tom Lyons, James Nessie, Loz Archer, Phil Nauder, Aaron Sterrett, John Bowden, Troy Fry, Sam Wooldridge in 15th, Rob Thompson, Guy Thornton 17th, Jay Turn in 18th, Harrison Fulton 19th, Mike Sutty, Andy Bonnar and Tony Matthews in 22nd, bringing up the rear of the grid. Apologies, I couldn't get the qualifying overlay on. I was a bit slow to set the grid after that last session. A rolling start then. A 1 hour race. The timer in the top left will change to 60 minutes once they cross the line, I hope. But we're looking at Albert Seragili in the white and turquoise Aston Martin from Ben Peake in the blue, yellow and white Porsche, and then Franco Sestari in 3rd position. I'm not sure if I actually saw the Ben Peake lap in qualifying, to be honest with you. It was so frantic. Then Franco Sestari and Kyle Wright starting 4th position today. Then Matty Zenko in the yellow and black Ferrari, Barry Mnemonic in the blue Mercedes, and Andy Moore in the BMW will jump on board, or will focus in on Kyle Wright sitting 4th. And let's see how they get away. So Albert Seragili off to a cracking start. He's really got off to a good start. Ben Peake struggling on the outside. Kyle's got up to 3rd position, looking to take 2nd. So they go down into turn 1. Franco Sestari on the inside. Apologies for that glitch. And this is 3 wide through chicane. It was never going to work. Franco Sestari's round. Kyle Wright's nearly round. They're all into each other. This is typical turn 1 Magnus. And you could see that coming a mile off. They went 3 wide in the middle of the first chicane. No major issues apart from Sistari, who's down into 19th position, so he went all the way round, and he's currently sits in 19th place, so one of the front runners all the way down to 19th after that unfortunate contact in turn 1. Albert Sergili has been let off the hook here. He's miles off in the lead, and if he can put some laps in like he did in qualifying, he'll be saying good night. He's 2.9 seconds to the good over Ben Peake in second position in the Porsche, and then we've got Kyle Wright into third, so a decent start for Kyle, and then Andy Moore up into fourth position. Then Matt Zenko behind him. He'll be looking to really get to grips with these top four because he wants to be at the front of this grid. There may be a little bit of damage, and Kyle Wright's wide through the exit of Ascari. That will cost him a bit of time. This is Matty Zengo lining up Andy Moore. He's right in the slipstream. He goes to the inside. Will he be better on the brakes? He's much deeper on the brakes. Can he get it stopped? Looks like a good move from Matt Zenko. Will he be able to keep it all together on the throttle? Got Phil Nauder behind these two, trying to get in on the action. Then Barry Nemolic and John Bowden, with Loz Archer just behind them. So a little bit of field spread on this first lap. Let's have a look a little bit further down. Let's get the intervals on so we can see the gaps down the grid, and that's close between these. I think there's a little bit of contact there. Apologies for the cameras being absolutely terrible at the moment. Is that Franco Sestari coming through the grid then? He's just gone past Rob Thompson. Next one on the list for him is Craig Fulton, I think. Oh, and that is Sam Wooldridge. Under pressure there. Sam Wooldridge not having a great night so far. Down in 17th position. I didn't see where he qualified. Let's just have a look at the positions gained and lost. So Franco Sestari down 12 then, the big loser in that mayhem, and Phil Nauder up 5, Craig Fulton or Harrison Fulton up 6. So they're your big movers at the start. This is Sam Wooldridge on Rob Thompson. He's going to try and go up the inside into the Ascari chicane. A brave move, but he's got it done. Going to switch back to the front because we don't want to miss anything here. So Albert Sergili is away 1.9 seconds, so he has lost a little bit of ground to Ben Peake, but he's still going well, and a decent gap for Albert Sergili as he bangs in the fastest lap then, 151.7, and nobody else can match it so far, so he is trying to extend that gap. Matty Zenko through on Andy Moore, and Andy Moore has now got Phil Nauder for company. A few of these cars showing some battle scars already within the first lap or two. Loz Archer up behind John Bowden. Let's have a look at that little battle here. Let's get some more information up on the screen. We do have a new graphic here which tells you the battles for each position. This basically covers gaps below 2 seconds, so this will come in handy as we make progress through this race, and the field spread naturally grows. A little bit wide there in the background, that was Guy Thornton. He's gone wide, and Franco Sestari's got past him. Guy will be looking to try and stick with Franco because we know Franco's got massive pace, currently in 14th position, so slowly recovering from that turn 1 incident. And Guy Thornton will be trying to stick on the back of this Lexus and follow him through if he can, as he goes very wide and nearly loses the rear of that BMW. Frantic stuff then in the first 6 minutes of this Monza 60-minute race, as Albert Sergili puts in another fastest lap. See if we can look at this turn 1 incident then. So here we go then, down into turn 1. We've got Franco on the inside, Kyle in the middle. And then Barry... Oh, we're going to have to watch that again because that got really fruity. So that was Ben Peake on the outside. So let's see what happens here then. Neither of them, or all of them, not willing to give up, and they just squeezed Kyle in the middle, and eventually that turns around Franco Sestari, and then there was further contact a few seconds later. So a classic turn 1 at Monza incident. A real shame for Franco Sestari, who was really, really quick in qualifying, and no doubt will be coming through the field pretty quick. Next on the list for Franco is Harrison Fulton in the Lexus. That's not correct, it's in the Mercedes, apologies. And then in front of him, Troy Fry. So Guy Thornton wide again, he's really struggling with understeer on that BMW. Another fastest first sector for Albert Seragili. Let's get the 1v1 on then and keep that up there. Let's get a track map on as well so you can see if there's any yellow flags. You can see where that will be on the map. The dot will show yellow when there's a yellow flag of the car, and also on the timing screen, the leaderboard on the left hand side, the row will turn yellow if a car experiences a yellow flag. Very, very close on lap times, a 1:57.78 versus a 7:92 for Ben Peake. So these two are going to be pretty close. Trading times at the moment, only 1.7 seconds. So Ben Peake has managed to gain a second since that lead at the start was 2.8 at the end of the first lap. So Ben Peake really on it with good pace. Carl Wright just struggling, you can see on the last lap. A 1:51.3 versus a 1:50.7 for the leaders, and then a 1:50.8 for Matt Zenko. So Kyle's going backwards into the clutches of Matt Zenko here. So this could be shaping up to be a nice fight between the two Ferraris for third and fourth. So it is the final step of the podium. Apologies, just sorting some things out on my end. Right then, so Tom Lyons under pressure from James Nessie in the matching Lexus. Look at the straight line speed, he's in the slipstream there, goes to the inside, but he's a little bit further back. Tom thinks about defending, but doesn't have to go full defensive in the end. Good little scrap between Tom Lyons and James Nessie. What other battles we got? This is Loz Archer right on the back of John Bowden. John Bowden doesn't go defensive. Loz tries to go to the outside of the Curva Grande, so they're on the inside for the second chicane. Got a good run through there, already ahead in the braking zone. Slightly different livery this week for Loz Archer, dropping the green rear for a pink, but these two really close, and John Bowden's not given up, and that is inviting Tom Lyons and James Nessie into this scrap. So this is a four-way now. Let's see if our battle graphic shows this up. So Loz Arger, John Bowden, Tom Lyons, James Nessie, Harrison Fulton a little bit further back, and so is Troy Fry. So certainly 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th scrapping for that 8th place. Franco Sestari then coming up behind Troy Fry. Very, very close, and also this battle for third positions getting closer and closer. I think Kyle Wright is struggling tonight. He's not having it his own way like he did last week. You can see on the lap times there, a 150.9 for the leader, 150.8 for Ben Peake in second, and then 151.2 for Kyle Wright. So Matt Zenko had a cut track and he's gone to the inside, just sends it down the inside. Can he get it stopped? He's gone deep. Kyle goes to the outside and he will get a bit of a switchback and a straighter line out of the corner. So we'll get good traction in that red and grey Ferrari. He's going to be right on the back of Matt Zenko through Curva Grande. Who goes to the outside to defend? Will Matt go to the outside to cover the inside into the second chicane? He goes middle of the road. Will Kyle send one down the inside, or has he just not got the straight line speed in that Ferrari? Looks like he's maybe carrying a little bit more wing than Matt Zenko, but Matt Zenko gets all out of shape on the exit. He goes defensive. That allows Kyle to the outside, but Kyle thinks better of that. Very difficult move to do outside of the first Lesmo, but he's got Matt Zenko under a great deal of pressure here, and that is allowing Ben Peake and Zenko's wide on the gravel. This is going to be a drag race all the way down to the Ascari chicane between these two guys. They know each other pretty well on the racetrack. Can't get any closer if he tries, but it does look like that Ferrari's lacking at the top end. He was right in the slipstream there. Troy Fry is off. Troy Fry has had an incident at the second Lesmo. Doesn't look too badly damaged, but he has dropped down into 19th position. So Kyle Wright then demoted into 4th position, and it looks like Matt Zenko's got that put to bed now. He did have a few mistakes straight after the move, but now just pulling a couple of car lengths gap on Kyle Wright, and that's a change of position for Loz Archer and Sam Wooldridge. So Sam Wooldridge takes that position from Loz Archer, and that's is that Franco Sestari? Yeah, that's Franco trying to come through on these two. So Sam Wooldridge, the yellow Lexus, currently in 12th position, and then that's Loz, and then Franco behind him. And then the battle that we were just looking at, just in front. Tom Lyons is managing to get away from this little scrap, so that leaves James Nessie and Harrison Fulton. Looks like Fulton's moving around on the back of that Lexus to try and unsettle the Lexus. Oh, a little bit of contact in the braking zone to the second chicane. The Lexus a little bit compromised, but it's not allowed the Mercedes to get a particularly good run, and that has allowed John Bowden to get right on the back of these two once again. Keeping an eye at the front, the gap is 1.6 seconds in the favour of Albert Serigili, so he's maintaining that gap pretty much. Ben Peake has put in the fastest lap a couple of laps ago on a 150.5, so 2/10 quicker than Albert's fastest lap. His last lap was very, very similar between them both, so the gap staying pretty similar. 15 minutes into this race then, so 25% of the way through, and Albert looking comfortable for now. You can see across the line that time around though, a 50.9 versus a 50.74, and then a 50.6 for Matt Zenko. So Matt Zenko, after getting past that Ferrari of Kyle Wright, is turning up the wick, and that is very close to the fastest lap of the race. It's not quite there, but he's really hassling that Ferrari, asking for more, and can he make up that 3.8 second gap to the back of Ben Peake? Franco Sestari then did briefly get past Loz Archer, but I think he may have given that position back. So Franco not having the best time getting through the field, made it up to 14th, and he's still only just above Guy Thornton, who we saw him go past quite a few laps ago. Guy dropped back a little bit, so either Franco may have had a little mistake. I'm just going to have a look at a replay. This is saying possible contact, so this is into the braking zone, into turn 1 then. Yeah, Franco just a little bit later on the brakes, used to his usual braking point, and just taps the back of Loz Archer, but nothing comes of that. He may have a bit of front end damage though, so we'll keep an eye on that, because it looks like Guy Thornton is actually closing in on the back of Franco. This is a very hectic round 3. Difficult to keep tabs on. All of the gaps look fairly stable at the minute. This is actually the closest gap, which is between Franco and Guy Thornton at 7/10 of a second. Field spread just settling down, and Ben Peake puts in another fastest lap, a 1:50.436 for the blue and white Porsche. So Albert Serigili, after that stunning qualifying lap and that great first 15 minutes of this race, he is going to come under pressure. All of these cars, remember, will need to make a stop for fuel, and the gap down to 1.3, and Ben Peake putting in some really quick laps, fastest laps of the second. There's been a change of position. Oh, and that's Harrison Fulton round John Bowden, and Loz Archer looks like they're involved as well. I'm gonna go to the Franco Sestari back to the pits. What's happened? So let's have a look. I can't see anything for Franco, so let's have a look at Harrison. Just loops it on the exit of turn 1. Where's Franco then? Something else must have happened to Franco Sestari. Unfortunately, nothing on the incident tracker. So Sestari in the pits. Has he pitted? Maybe making an early stop for fuel, possibly, and maybe a bit of damage repair. So maybe not as bad as I thought. He maybe just chose to make that pit stop earlier than we expected. Slightly slower on this lap for Ben Peake. You can see just on the times in the bottom right hand corner, slightly slower. But not by much, a 1:50.6. The deltas may be lying to us a little bit there. Albert Serigili though, last lap, a 1:50.4, yes, so that was a good lap from Albert Serigili. He popped that one in, so he's managed to respond to that effort from Ben Peake, and that last lap was a 1:50.93, which is only 0.06 of a tenth slower than Ben Peake's fastest lap, so really able to match the times here. This is going to go all the way to the line. High pressure stuff. One mistake could really catch either of these guys out, so we'll leave them alone for now. Let's see how Kyle's recovering. Dropping back from Matt Zenko. Looks like Troy Fry may have just lost a position there. No. So Troy Fry is in the pits. So a few of the stoppers then. Let's switch onto the auto cycle so you can see the interval and then the energy. Now these guys have pitted. We'll also do the number of stops. This will stay on rotation. So the interval will disappear off the screen briefly, so you can see the energy status, which you've got on your screen now. You can see the bottom two cars much higher on fuel and virtual energy. A 1:50.44 on that lap. That, as near as damn it, equals his fastest lap and the fastest lap of the race. So he's taking chunks He took 3/10 out of the leader on that lap. And with 39 minutes to go, Albert Serigili is going to be sweating in the Aston Martin with this Porsche looming large in the mirrors. Sam Wooldridge getting very, very close to the back of John Bowden then. Is he going to have a look into turn one? Goes to the inside, but John Bowden very good on the brakes. Can he get it stopped on the apex? Yes, he can. And a drive-through for Andy Moore. That's a disaster for Andy, who's currently running 7th. So that will be for track cuts. So a drive-through penalty for Andy Moore. Looks like Harrison Fulton has rejoined in 15th position. So he was going well up until that point, and that is a massive shame for Andy Moore. A strong showing for him, but with 38 minutes to go, he'll have to really take care not to get any more track cuts. Keep your eye out for those drive-through banners popping up, because this is a circuit that punishes you for taking liberties with the track limits. So Sam Moore then trying to get on the back of John Bowden in the Porsche. Look, a few of these cars looking pretty banged up on the front end. A good run for Sam. So let's jump on board with Sam, see what he can do into Parabolica. Almost sounded like Sam was lifting and coasting there. Good drive. Can he keep it tight? So he's right on the back bumper here. Then he's going to be right in the slipstream. He's kept gaining, pulls out. So John Bowden goes defensive, covers the inside line into this turn one. Looks like Sam's got low wing. Maybe that last minute setup change taking the wing off, but he's on the outside. He just needs to hang it round, which he does. Gives room on the exit, so great racing, and another drag race out of the first chicane down into the second. John Bowden might just have enough overspeed here to go back to the left hand side and cover into this second chicane. We'll see what Sam does. John decides to not cover, but Sam just too far behind. Oh, and nearly loses a car on the inside curb there. Just meanwhile, this gap at the front, Ben Peake, the last lap 150.6 and a 150.9 for Albert Serigili. So this is getting very, very close. Gabriel Ogra in the chat, good to see you, friend. You'll have to get back amongst it and join in, because it's some really close racing, as you can see tonight. This, the battle for first position. These two in a bit of a league of their own, but having said that, Matt Zenko, if he's got anything to say about that, he'll be looking to improve. A 150 flat for Albert Serigili versus a 150.7 for Ben Peake and a 150.8 for Zenko. And then Kyle Wright suddenly finding some pace on a 150.55, so that's knocking on the door of fastest lap of the race. So we could see a four-way fight here if they all concertina up. So it's looking good. Something's gone on in the... So Andy Moore pits to serve his drive-through. James Nessie and Tom Lyons getting very, very close in turn one. And then it looks like there's been an overtake. Sam Wooldridge on John Bowden. Did I miss that one? It's as you were. I think there may have been side by side. We'll check out the replay in a little while. But again, down to turn two, you see the overspeed of that Lexus and the Porsche coming across the onto the racing line in the braking zone. Causes Sam to check up a little bit. But that has invited Loz Archer onto the back of this fight for ninth position. Hard to know where to look in this race. There's a lot of close battles going on. As the battle graphic does update, we've got John Bowden, Sam Wooldridge and then Loz Archer, but he has just dropped off the back of these two a little bit there. I think I missed a mistake in the second Lesmo, potentially. Troy Fry has DNF'd. He's gone back to the pits. It went yellow and then DNF'd, so that is a shame for Troy. Hello to Ant Brown in the chat. Hope you're enjoying this evening's race. It is cracking so far, and this is into Parabolica side by side. Who's that? Harrison Fulton and Aaron Sterrett. So that was Aaron Sterrett trying to pull a move on Harrison Fulton. Where is John Bowden gone? Have we seen a mistake here? A mistake then, so I don't think there was contact, was there? Looked like John Bowden just lost the rear. We were watching this battle a little while ago. Sam Wooldridge was catching, and then I saw John Bowden drop down the field. So he's dropped all the way down to 16th position. That's allowed Sam Wooldridge into 9th. So a good recovery drive from Sam Wooldridge after that poor start. I do need to apologise for Sam last week. I said that he recovered from an early spin, not realising that the spin was actually in qualifying, and I was having a moment. So apologies to Sam for that. We need to make sure we don't lose focus on this lead battle, because this could be changing around in the blink of an eye. The gap only 0.4 of a second, and a much tighter entry into Parabolica by Ben Peake. Albert Seragili taking a totally different line there. 30 minutes to go. I don't expect to see any of the leaders pitting until later on. Looks like Albert Seragili he got an off track on that lap because his lap time hasn't appeared. That's usually what happens. And Kyle Wright coming back at Matt Zenko. So Matt Zenko, after that early pace, once he got past Kyle Wright, is now swapped around. And Kyle Wright coming back at Matt Zenko. Tom Lyons, haven't seen much of him, but he's just put in a very quick lap. So a 150.9 and then nearly his best lap. So he's lapping very quickly and consistently ahead of James Nessie. The last lap of 151.1, so a little bit slower for James in 8th position, but fairly comfortable. So we just look at this battle between Rob Thompson. Oh, and that is Tony Matthews getting it all wrong into Parabolica. He's gone wide. He's going to let both of these two Mustangs through. So that is Mike Sutty and Rob Thompson through ahead of Tony Matthews. Franco Sestari is still in the race, having pitted much earlier, trying a different strategy for him. Who's that in the background? This is the leaders. This is a run for Ben Peake on Albert Seragili. Albert Seragili is defending for his life here. 30 minutes to go, but he's going to go defensive into the final corner. Oh, Ben Peake sweeps around the outside, turns in quite early though, cuts the nose off the Aston Martin. He's wide on the exit, and it is going to get a good drive in that Porsche down the straight, but they're going to be side by side. Might have to do a bit of side drafting here. Let's have a look how quick they are comparatively. Looks like the Aston Martin has got good straight line speed, but when that Porsche tucks into the slipstream, you saw him gain on the back of the Aston, both hard on the brakes. He's swept around the outside again. He's closed the door and he's got that move done. So that was a really, really brave move for P1 by Ben Peake. Turns in. Thought there was going to be contact on the entry, but this is allowing the Aston Martin to come back. Will he have to defend into the second chicane? He goes middle of the road. They're side by side in the braking. Will he hang it around the outside? So he gets the inside for the second apex. He does. This is getting pretty feisty. Down to the first Lesmo, still side by side. Albert Seragili on the inside. Ben Peake chooses better of it this time to try and get a good run into the second Lesmo, and probably try and get a good run down this straight into the Ascari chicane. And they're going to be fighting once again, as they were on the last lap, sorry. So we were going to stick with this fight for P1. Albert Serigili in the Aston Martin, followed by Ben Peake in the blue and white Porsche. Lots of curb taken for Albert there. Tries to jink out of the racing line to just lose a bit of that slipstream for that Porsche. With the Porsche tucking right behind the Aston. Exactly as the guys have said in the chat, this is slowing each other down. Let's have a look at the lap time across the line on this lap, because we know they've been fighting. So a 52.2 and a 52.4, so that's allowing Matt Zenko and Carl Wright to come right back at them, a 50.9 and a 50.8 respectively for third and fourth. So you can see the gaps coming down on the screen now. So these two fighting really is inviting the other two guys back into the battle, and we know they've got good pace, so it's not like they're only going to close and then lose out. They will be able to race these two on pace. Sam Waldridge banging in a decent lap there, a 150.9 as well, and this is a close gap between Aaron Sterrett. Sorry, this is Jay and Harrison Fulton, with Aaron Sterrett a little bit further behind. A drive-through for Guy Thornton. I saw that pop up earlier. Rob Thompson has lost the rear of that Mustang again, probably. This car, oh, it's into the Ascari chicane this time, so that is a shame for Rob Thompson. And there's been an overtake. This John Bowden making his way back through the field on... Sorry, this is Andy Moore going past John Bowden and then returning the favour, and there's contact on the second part of that. Right, let's get... Drive through for Albert Serigili. You just saw it flash up on the screen. So all of that pressure from Ben Peake has forced Albert into a mistake. He's abused the track limits and he gets a drive-through. A drive-through for Albert Serigili, also for Guy Thornton. We saw that pop up a lap ago, but there was too much going on, so that's really going to hinder the chances for Albert Serigili. That's such a shame, and we're going to have to hope that the third and fourth position boys can get on the back of Ben Peake and do something about this, because if he gets a clear road ahead of him, he could run away with this one. Carl Wright at 150.7, good lap from him, and don't forget, any of these boys can get drive-throughs, so they're not safe. Even though they haven't got a drive-through yet, there's still 26 minutes to go. So this is a battle for Harrison Fulton, Aaron Sterrett and Jay in the Aston Martin for 11th, 12th and 13th. The graphic just taking a little while to catch up, but you can see there, summarises what you can see on the screen. We are going to switch back to these, or the front group should we call it, because this is intense stuff. When will Albert choose to take his drive through? Will he try and fight with Ben Peake in order to try and get him to make similar mistakes? As you can see how close they're getting to the edge of the track. Can he back Ben into this pair of cars following in order to try and create a fight and slow themselves down? So even with his pit stop, he can at least hope that he might get onto the back of them and try and fight for podium positions, but that really will have put a massive dent in his campaign for round 3 here tonight. James Nessie getting close to the back of Tom Lyons, and Tom Lyons getting very, very close to Phil Nauder, and Phil Nauder dives to the pit lane. So Phil Nauder choosing to take his stop with 24 minutes 23 seconds remaining. You can see the energy levels popping up on the screen. So all of these guys did have enough fuel to carry on, but choosing to take the stop a little bit early, maybe try and get out of these fights and not slow themselves down. See Phil Nauda dropping down the timing leaderboard and the red pit indicator just to show he is in the pits. Last lap then for Albert Serigili, 150.8, so he's not going particularly slow. I didn't know if he'd try and back Ben Peak into Matty Zenko, but it seems that those tactics aren't really Albert's style. Some possible contact here. So that was Tom Lyons wide in the first Lesmo. Oh, and then that's James Nessie into the back of him, and now they're side by side. So this is live then into Ascari, Tom on the inside, James on the outside. They try and go side by side. Tom loses the rear of the Porsche, nearly wipes out James Nessie, manages to keep it facing in the right direction, but this is a battle for sixth position. Really good racing for these two. Brave to go side by side into, oh, and there's been a change of position. Oh, that is because Albert Serigili has pitted. So if we go back to live then, so Albert Serigili in the pit lane, that has released Ben Peak, Matt Zenko and Carl Wright. So will he just serve his drive-through? Because he will. So this is just his drive-through, remember. He still has to make a stop after this. So this is really devastating for Albert's efforts tonight. It's a great shame because he had massive pace in qualifying. Absolute cracking effort in the dying moments of qualifying, and that is such a shame to see such a solid performance fade away in this fashion. Interestingly, on the energy stats, Carl Wright and Barry Mnemonic with significantly more fuel than a lot of the others. Still only 22%, so not enough at the minute to finish the race, but they will be able to make a much later stop. There's Guy Thornton behind James Nessie here, so Guy Thornton hasn't yet made a stop. Weaving around a little bit, like he might have possibly had an incident. No, it looks okay. Nothing on the incident board. So we're looking at Kyle Wright in the red and silver Ferrari, gaining a little bit on Matt Zenko, but look at those last laps. A 150.46 for Matt Zenko. That is quick. His fastest lap of the race, and only 300ths off the best lap of the race. So tyre wear offsetting the fuel load at the minute, and the car's still able to put in quick laps. Aaron Sterrett losing most of the paint off the front of that Mercedes, closing in behind Harrison Fulton. These two always seem to be on track together tonight, it seems. Albert Serigili after that stop, so he's come out in 6th position, so all is not lost in terms of finishing and points. He's got Sam Wooldridge behind him, who is also yet to stop, so that gives you an idea. Oh, as he goes wide again, he doesn't want to be doing that. That's exactly how he got that drive-through initially, but it does give you an idea of just how fast the front guys were when they can make a pit stop and still come out in 6th position ahead of guys that are doing pretty quick lap times. Sam Wooldridge's best is a 150.9, so it just shows you the consistency of those top 4 cars when they were circulating. So Ben Peake with a gap of 2.8 across the line that time with just under 20 minutes to go. Matt Zenko a little bit slower over the line on that lap, but still quicker than Kyle Wright, only 700ths that time around. But these two looking pretty even. So that was Rob Thompson going straight through the chicane. We just saw it in the background. Wondered what had happened there, but yeah, Rob Thompson just getting it all wrong in the first chicane. And Franco Sestari up into 20th. He has made a stop, but he is down on Phil Nauder and James Nessie, who have also made their stops for fuel. So keep an eye on those fuel loads. See the green bars indicating a much higher fuel load. So those guys will not need to stop. I'll turn the amount of stops on the leaderboard so it should roll over and show you how many stops the guys have made. And that should make it a little bit easier to find out who stopped and who hasn't. And just a point that if they have served a drive-through, that will not show as a stop. So Albert Seragili at the moment showing as 0 stops, as you can see on the screen right now. Mike Suttie completing his pit stops. So we're seeing quite a lot of the cars coming in now. It's been quite spread out in terms of pit stop strategy tonight. Stop and go for Mike Suttie. Oh, what a disaster. He was having a... That is speeding in the pit lane, so we saw him in the pits and he must have just missed the pit lane speed limit either on the way in or the way out. So that is a stop and go for Mike Suttie, so that is a double whammy. Stop go, much more severe than a drive-through even, so he will not be happy. He's having a bit of a torrid time along with Rob Thompson in this Mustang. It is fair play to those boys for sticking with that car, because it is a bit of a nightmare. Keep an eye on the interval on the left hand side. When you see the numbers reducing to under a second, that means the battle's close. You don't need the numbers to tell me that, or to tell you that. This is Harrison Fulton in the silver and yellow Mercedes, and Aaron Sterrett in the SWMD Ajax liveried car. Franco Sestari just getting through on Tony Matthews, so he's still putting in some really quick laps. High 50s for Franco at the moment. So slowly making his way through. Guy Thornton heads to the pits for his pit stop then. Not sure he has much experience doing the pit stops. And that is Ben Peake and Matt Zenko in, so let's keep an eye on these two. Guy Thornton not used to doing the long races with stops, but he looks like he's got that completed all okay. So we need to see where these guys are coming out the pits then. Ben Peake still in the pits. Matt Zenko leaves very much similar to Ben. And he will be hoping that that Porsche will be getting bigger all the time. He's got something to aim for now. I do think that the gap has come down a little bit, so currently at 2.5 seconds, but colder tyres I should say. I don't think they actually do a tyre stop in these hour races. So he'll be hoping to stick with that Porsche, or just hope the tyre wear falls off a cliff and allows him to catch up. So Kyle Wright leads at the moment, but he has to make a stop. You can see he's got 5% energy, and Barry Mnemonic behind him 6%. So he may be able to do another lap. Slightly different strategy from Kyle here. John Bowden in the pits as well, just leaving now. So most of the cars have made their stops, but the top three on the leaderboard, so Kyle Wright, Barry Mnemonic and Sam Wooldridge, yet to stop. And then we've got Tony Matthews and Rob Thompson also to stop. So 5 cars still to make their fuel stops. And once they've done that, we should be able to see exactly where it all pans out. But as it stands, this man here, Ben Peake in the Porsche, leading from Matt Zenko, the gap 3.0 seconds. What just happened? I'm not sure what happened there. It's because they crossed the pit lane. So there was is that Kyle Wright that's made his pit stop? No, somebody made their pit stop. Sam Wooldridge. So that confused the timing screen a little bit there. But yes, as I was saying, so this is Ben Peake, has a 2.8 second gap to Matt Zenko. So that's side by side. I'm trying to see, that's Tony Matthews. Let's see who that was. Right, so this is Phil Nauder. I'm not sure who the Lexus is. James Nessie. So this is a battle for 7th position. It didn't show up on my screen initially. But yeah, this is a really close battle for 7th position. So Phil Nauder leading from James Nessie. They've both made their stops. So this is for position. Only 11 minutes to go, so they will fight hard all the way to the finish. Oh, very deep on the brakes there for James Nessie. He's overcooks that, and that's allowed Sam Wooldridge to get on the back of him. So Sam's now lining up that dark red coloured Lexus for a move. Let's see what Sam can do here. Into Parabolica, he goes to the inside, tries to get James Nessie looking in his mirrors, trying to get him to mess up the braking. And again, he'll have a good run out of the final corner. Everybody has made their stops. Guy Thornton has brimmed it. That might have been bad advice from me. I said brim it. I did mean at the start. So he's now got a full tank of fuel with only 11 minutes to go, but hey ho. So this is Sam on the inside. He goes up the inside with James Nessie, side by side on the middle of the chicane. Lots of room given there. Very fair racing from both drivers. And that has allowed James Nessie to hold on to that 8th position in front of Sam Wooldridge. Now the cars have all made their stops. You can see Ben Peake in the lead. But hang on a second. Kyle Wright has absolutely taken advantage through the pit stops. I just want to check what's going on here. So yeah, this was Kyle coming out the pits ahead of Ben Peake, but Ben Peake just getting in front of Kyle before turn 1. So Kyle really making those stops work. Maybe a much more effective stop, and also less fuel, remember. So the less fuel you've got to put in, the less time that nozzle is attached to the car. So this is really good news for us as viewers. 9 minutes 15 seconds to go. P1 Ben Peake crosses the line on a 150.6. Carl Wright, a 225, but that's because he's just left the pits. And there is Matt Zenko in the background, hoping that these two will fight with each other, and I'm sure they will, given the chance. So, grab another box of popcorn. Kyle is on the flashes. Very similar fuel levels, 27 versus 28%. Yeah, Kyle Wright has absolutely pulled a stormer there in the stops. I'm sure Matt Zenko won't be happy. But yeah, really good stuff from Kyle, and that's wide from Ben Peake through the second chicane. It does look like he's just eking out a little gap though. So Kyle's going to have to be putting in some of his special laps here and keep Ben under pressure, because I think the pressure is going to need to be there for Ben to make this mistake. Sam Wooldridge still fighting hard with James Nessie for 8th position. The two highest running Lexuses in this race, and that is Phil Nauder in front of them, who's having a good race actually. He's been quite quiet as Phil Nauder. He's had some good little races, but he's actually coming under a bit of pressure here from James Nessie and Sam Wooldridge. Albert Serigili, after that extra stop, he's now made his other fuel stop, still stays 6th position, so not a nightmare for him. Rob Thompson, yeah, you guessed it, it's the Mustang and it's round again, so a big shame for him, as that's Tom Lyons going through in 5th position. A good solid showing from Tom Lyons. Kyle's not over yet, is it? He's close down the straight. That Ferrari looks pretty strong down the straight. He's right in the slipstream there. Maybe that damage on the front of Ben Peake's car, I didn't see exactly where that was from. I'm assuming the first corner. I've totally missed it for the duration of the race if it was, but maybe just costing Ben Peake a little bit of straight line speed. The last lap's a 150.4 for Kyle and a 150.7 for Ben Peake. So that was Kyle's fastest lap of the race. You can see it in the graphic. Oh, there's a lot of curb taken for both cars. Kyle got a really good run out of there though, and Ben Peake goes a little bit defensive, middle of the road. So the pressure really mounting then in these late stages. Kyle's got a really good run there as well. This is good stuff. This is exactly what we want to see with just over 5 minutes to go. Hopefully this will go all the way to the line. Kyle right in the slipstream of that Porsche. The Porsche staying hard over to the left of the racetrack, giving Kyle no option but to go to the outside into Ascari. So it's going to be side by side then. Will they try and do it side by side? A little bit of contact on the brakes, slowing it down. They do go side by side. They're giving each other room. Kyle just fades out of that one. Probably clever. You don't want to be binning it at Ascari because that could be race over for you. So they go again then down the straight. Tries to stay in the slipstream up to Parabolica. And 5 minutes 45 to go. This is good stuff, and I'm sure Matt Zenko in the background will be egging these boys on, just waiting for them to slow each other up. We'll have a look at the lap time because we know the last one was very, very fast from Kyle. What is it this time around? A 151.5 for both of them, basically nearly identical lap times, and that's a second down to Matt Zenko. So here we go again then into turn one. No defending this time around, just trying to get a good run, although the Porsche turned in a little bit earlier and that will compromise him, but he does get a good exit and good traction from the Porsche, so he should have a couple of car lengths through Curva Grande into the second chicane. Apologies if there are battles elsewhere because it's hard to take our eyes off this, and this is the two Lexus going at it, so they're side by side. We will watch this into turn one then. Sam gets through but then brakes a little earlier, turns in, but there's a Lexus in the way there, side by side, door banging again. Oh, and that's James Nessie loses the rear on exit, just snaps under traction, and that's allowed Sam Wooldridge through. So a change of position then for 8th position. Sam Wooldridge taking 8th from James Nessie, and then we switch back to 1st and 2nd position. So Ben Peake and Kyle Wright, Porsche versus Ferrari. 4 minutes to go now through the Ascari chicane. No time to make an error here. And we don't know how many track cuts these boys are on. They could be on their last warning. So really intense stuff for these two. Kyle's right on the back of him into Parabolica, so it's good that the Ferrari seems to have good top end and able to utilise that slipstream. Steve Wooldridge in the chat cheering on Kyle. Really wants him to see him take victory here. Ben Peake, though, has been the class of the field so far in terms of lap time and outright pace. But this is where it all matters. 3.5 minutes to go. There's a yellow flag. Bonnard is off, and Rob Thompson as well. So it looks like that Porsche's been for another. And that's the Porsche deep into turn one. He manages to block and another drive-through for Guy Thornton. He got deep into turn one there, did Ben Peake, but just managed to get it stopped on the apex and nowhere for Kyle to go. But he's definitely feeling the pressure. Kyle doing a good job here. Goes to the inside. He's thinking about it. He's just getting Ben looking in the mirrors, trying to get him make a mistake. Nothing worse than driving in your mirrors, because that's when you make the mistakes and that's when you don't put in your best laps. Into the first Lesmo then. Very equal through there. What's the run like out of here? The Porsche looked a little bit off the apex, but does manage to get a good run. I think that's Guy Thornton in front, is it? It is, so Guy will be getting lapped very soon for these. He has got a drive through, so he probably will just move out the way for these two. A good run through the middle of Ascari there for Kyle, and he looks like he's got a good run once again. The Porsche stay into the white lining it all the way down the inside. He's moved away though, so he's allowed the door open for Kyle. Will he send it? He doesn't. They both brake really late. The Porsche's braked too late though. He's gone really deep. That's allowed Kyle through on the inside, and he's got good traction. The Porsche cracks under pressure, and that's allowed Kyle through with 1 minute 50 to go. So 2 laps to go. No, this is the final lap. There's the banner flashing up. So Ben Peake has got 1 lap to do something about this. There's 3 or 4 lengths between them. So big pressure on Kyle now to get this victory after having slowly warmed up to it. Played a bit of a blinder on strategy, and he's put Ben Peake under big pressure on these last few laps, and he's pretty much got it done. He's got a good gap here. 2 car lengths, but the pressure is on here, so he's gone a little bit deep on the first apex of the second chicane, but it's enough. 2 car lengths then. The gap is 0.4 of a second. You can see it on the screen in the live delta. Just needs to keep it all together. Hopefully this back marker won't get in the way. Ben Peake, I'm sure, will be throwing everything at this now. The back marker gets out of the way. Well done, Guy. At least I think he's getting out of the way. Yeah, he's just backing out of it there. So that's the Porsche. He's a good couple of car lengths back here, though. So can he do anything? Because he's only really got this Ascari chicane and the straight down into Parabolica. If he's not close enough out of here, he's not really going to have any answer for Kyle. So this is a 0.6 of a second gap. That's too much to make a move on the brakes. But can he pull out an amazing exit and get the run to the line? I'm not sure. Kyle throws it in. They're both throwing caution to the wind here. Kyle's a little bit wide on the exit, but it looks like he's got it sorted, and that will be P1 for Kyle. He crosses the line, takes victory from Ben Peake in the Porsche. Fantastic fighting with those two, and then Matt Zenko crosses the line in 3rd position. Barry Mnemonic, what a great result from him. He's been quiet all night, had that incident in turn 1, but he crosses the line in 4th position. And then Tom Lyons a little bit further back, just rounding Parabolica now, in front of Albert Serigiliu. Let's not forget, he was dominating this race for the early part and got that drive-through. Shows how crucial it is. And then Phil Nauder leads Sam Wooldridge and James Nessie across the line, so really close for those 3. Phil Nauder coming under pressure from Sam Wooldridge, but Sam Wooldridge getting that position on James Nessie. Then Harrison Fulton across the line in 10th. And then Jay a little bit further back in the Aston Martin takes 11th position. Franco Sestari, after that spin in turn 1, it could have been so much different for Franco. Crosses the line in 12th, and then Aaron Sterrett in 13th. Then Andy Moore crossing the line in 14th in the BMW. Andy Bonnar in the Porsche. We've barely seen him on the stream. Apologies to you, Andy. Needs to find those battles to get himself in. But he does cross the line in 15th position. And then Mike Sutty has already finished because he was lapped. Guy Thornton finishes 17th. Tony Matthews 18th. And then Rob Thompson, DNF in the Ford Mustang. John Bowden as well in the Porsche DNF. So I'll have to see if I can find that. I didn't see where John Bowden DNF'd. Apologies for that. Loz Archer also DNF, and then Troy Fry. If I saw that on stream, maybe I've just had a terrible memory, but I didn't see those guys DNFing, and I can't see them on the instance at the moment. But what a good race that was. The classic Monza Turn 1 shenanigans, but very good racing. Let's see if we can get the results up here. Didn't really work very well, that, does it? The session has ended, unfortunately, but there we go. Carl Wright, Matt Zenko. That's not even correct either, because Ben Peake's showing him 4th. So let's get rid of that. I need to be a little bit faster on the old trigger for that one. But thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure tonight. Hopefully we'll stream next week. But again, I've only just got back in the country today, so we managed to get tonight's race done, and I'm glad I made it for this one. So round 4 next week. Even if there isn't a stream, join in. The grid, 22 people on the grid tonight. Really good turnout. So thanks for joining me in the chat, and we'll hopefully see you next week, and if not, the week after that. Thanks very much. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.